Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us no choice but a brave resistance or the most abject submission. This is all we can expect. We have therefore to resolve to conquer or die. Our own country's honor, all call upon us for a vigorous and manly exertion. And if we now shamefully fail, we shall become infamous to the world. Let us therefore rely upon the goodness of the cause, and the aid of the Supreme Being, in whose hands victory is, to animate and encourage us to great and noble actions. General George Washington.
Good evening, Undertakers, and welcome to the Empty Casket podcast. I am Tanya Gilroy, and this is Bill Bryan, and our special guest tonight is my son, Quaylen. Tonight, we take you on our investigation of the White Hill Mansion in Fieldsboro, New Jersey. But first, some housekeeping.
So we have several events lined up in the coming months. April 30th, which is just a few days from the day we're recording this, we're going to the Mid-Orange Correctional Facility in Warwick, New York. The following day, May 1st, myself and Quaylen are going to the Shawnee Cemetery in Plymouth, PA. We're currently working on getting a special interview in May and some local investigations. On July 9th, we have the Perone House in Harrisville, Rhode Island, otherwise known as the Conjuring House. And we're currently planning a trip to Penhurst in Spring City, PA, with some of our new friends from this investigation, Brian and Sylvia.
Yep. Now on to our main show.
First, a little history of White Hills Mansion. The mansion was built in 1722 by Robert Field. Now, 4 of his 7 children died at a young age in the house, which is part of the reason that they think children spirits live in the house. In 1757, his son Robert inherits the house. This is the second of 3 Robert Fields that owned the house. Sadly, in 1775, Robert drowns in the Delaware River just 200 feet from the house. Now, this is an important fact that will come up later in our investigation. During 1776, the heart of the Revolutionary War, Mary Field played host to the Captain Houston of the American Navy. This branded her a colonial sympathizer, and her home was invaded by the British. It was taken over by the Hessian soldiers. It was again controlled by the colonists at one point. So this became a very turbulent area during the Revolutionary War. In 1797, yet another Robert Field takes over the house. So this is the grandson of the man who built the house. At some point, the Field family left the house and moved to Princeton. We don't know exactly when, but that's another important fact that will come up later. In 1853, the town of White Hill changed its name to Fieldsboro to honor the Field family. In 1922, Heinrich and Katrina Glenk purchased the mansion and opened it as a German restaurant. So later on, when you hear us refer to the kitchen, that's it's the kitchen that they used during the restaurant. It wasn't always a kitchen. The basement became a speakeasy because this was during Prohibition, complete with tunnels going from the speakeasy out to the railroad tracks and the river just behind the house. This is where they would transport moonshine from the house, where they did make it in the house, out to other places and bring other alcohol into it. And there's also reports of people being shanghaied here. Now, typically, Shanghaiing is thought of as a West Coast thing, particularly in Oregon, but it's where men would get drugged and thrown aboard a ship where they would wake up in the middle of the ocean and brought to one of the Asian countries to basically be a slave. At this time, the attic of the mansion was also used as a bordello. So this house has seen just about everything.
Yep.
Our investigation was hosted by Ghost Hunts USA. They are a group that has access to places all over the country, and you pay for a nightly investigation. And typically, their setup is they have a couple uh, rooms of investigation with the large group of everyone there, and then you have time by yourself to go out and investigate. In fact, the Mid Orange and the Perone House are two other events that we're doing hosted by Ghost Hunts USA.
Yep. And for our first investigation with them, I definitely will say it was very professional.
Mm-hmm.
They were very knowledgeable of not only the history, the environment, but also, how to use the equipment, and just their general knowledge of ghost investigation.
Yeah, and they also provided a few pieces of equipment, including the Ovilus, which is something we haven't used before, but proved to be actually pretty on point with a lot of what was going on. So that's now on our list of things we'd like to have.
Yep, more toys to add.
So they gave us a tour of the house and a brief history of the house, and then we did our group investigation. So this started off in Mary Fields' room, where they kind of gave us a little lesson in dowsing and using a pendulum.
And they start off the groups as a whole to show anybody that has no experience how to use
Right.
the equipment.
Yeah. These events are open to, first timers all the way through to professionals.
It's a way to break the ice and get things moving. So
yeah. So like I said, they gave us a little lesson in dowsing and pendulum, which is something that we're familiar with. They did use a cat toy, a little light up cat toy that as it moves, it starts to light up, which is something I've been seeing quite a few people using lately. So it's a fairly cheap thing. I've been meaning to grab one last time we went to the store and I forgot. Something we'll have to try out some more.
They also put a REM pod in the hallway. And then they sent Quaylen down the hallway to sit by himself. So how'd you feel about that, Q?
It was funny because like at first it was kind of like an uneasy feeling, and then I got into the room by myself. It was very calming. I felt that like calming feeling almost every time they put me by myself. Like it was not like uneasy, it wasn't scary, it wasn't unnerving at all.
Now, the REM pod did go off a few times while he was.
Yeah, it did.
I don't recall what questions were being asked, though.
I don't believe they were in conjunction with questions being asked. So the REM pod was in the hallway, which was in between Mary's room, which we were at, and then Q, you were in the room with the doll, right?
No, he was down the hall.
Yeah, I was in
with like the big fireplace.
Oh, that
one.
I gotcha. Yeah, I remember you poked your head out the door and started yelling down the hall that Quaylen's really good with kids. If there's any kids, go play with them.
Well, he is good with kids.
So yeah, I mean, for the most part, not a whole lot happened in Mary's room.
Lot happened with Mary's room. My personal thoughts were that it was such a small room, and even though they claimed they had a small group, there was
about like 12 to 15 people.
Yeah. So if it crowded.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot. And I think when you have a whole crowd of people, though, things can happen. I don't know. I just feel like it was just too much stimulation, I guess. We went through the house. And then we went to the attic. That was our next stop.
Yep, which Tanya immediately broke the wall.
I know, I broke the wall. Not purposely, I didn't know. I just leaned up against it and it crashed. Only crumbled a little bit.
Yeah, way to break the almost 300-year-old house. So they sent one girl down into the bordello by herself. So the bordello was a separate room in the basement. It was kind of tricky to get to. You kind of
Not in
had
the basement, yeah.
or in the attic. We had kind of crawl through a little opening to get in there.
It was pretty cool how it was constructed.
Yeah, there's three little rooms in there.
Yeah, you have the attic, and then you have this like little slant of a door, and you kind of have to duck to crawl through. And then there was three separate rooms, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So our setup here was they put a laser grid down the hallway. So the far room in the attic, there were claims of shadow figures moving around. So we put a laser grid down there.
And a grumpy old man.
Right, yeah, and a grumpy old man. But we put the laser grid down there. We got the SLS pointed down there. And then I put one of my cameras pointing down there, and that was pointing down the whole time. You can go watch it up on our YouTube channel. So we were hoping we would capture some shadow figure walk through there. So one of the first things that happened up there, because we did have a few things happen in the attic, one of the closets made some noise. Now, nobody was really standing near the closets, but none of the closet doors were closed all the way. So it could have moved from the vibration of us walking around and that. So we can't conclude anything from it, but that's one thing that did happen. And then in front of the doorway going into the bordello, they had one of those motion sensor lights, and that kept going off. So everyone was assuming that was a spirit causing it to go off because nobody was standing directly in front of it.
But yeah, there was a lot of focus during that time. What they did, they separated again. Quaylen, you went down the first time, right?
No, I did.
No, Bill did.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, they sent Bill down the hallway where the shadow figure is supposed to be, and he was put into that room. Meanwhile, the group, obviously was trying to make contact, and I don't know if it was during the light sensor. I think the light sensor was going off. It was starting to go off.
Yeah.
And then they put a flashlight in between to try to see if the flashlight would go on and off. I felt a little like, I don't know, skeptical. Yeah.
That mag light experiment. So it's when you take one of those twisting mag lights and you turn it to just before it turns on, and you could place them there, and then it makes it very easy for a spirit to manipulate it to turn it on and off. I've seen that done several times, and it made a lot of sense. But they put it on the floor, and everybody was walking around, so it could have been the vibration.
A big concern. It was that, not saying like it wasn't really on a flat surface. It was, it's all board, the slate flooring. So there's already some unevenness there, and plus it's everything you do makes a vibration. Your movement, everyone's movement there.
Yeah, well, they really should have told everyone, okay, we're going to do this, so everybody needs to sit still.
Yeah, or be away. And another thing with the sensor light, which we kind of saw when we were up there by ourselves, was that it had a very wide range of sensor motion. So it was going off at quite a distance.
And off to the side.
And when we were up there as a group, again, a small house, small room.
Lots of people.
We were all crowded in one area. And obviously a lot of it was generalized in that area.
Yeah, and there were people, like I said, people walking around and stuff. So they were setting that off.
However, we caught one of probably our best pieces of evidence during that moment.
Right. So I was down in the other room doing a live EVP. So we had a Zoom recorder that we can listen to the EVPs live, which was kind of awesome. And I have since bought that. So before we get to that piece of evidence that you just mentioned, while I was sitting in that room, when I first got there and sat down, the one corner had a very dark shadow in it. Now, I didn't think anything of it because the lights were off. It was dark outside, and we're close to the train tracks. There were some lights outside and what. So I just figured, okay, it's a shadow. No big deal. Until like few minutes later, 3, 4, 5 minutes later, I looked over and the shadow's not there anymore. And my first thought was, well, I've been sitting here in the dark for a little bit, so my night vision's kicking in, and that must be all it is. I'm going to test this out. So since we had the laser pointing into that room, I stared into that laser, into the bright light of it for a little while to kind of destroy my night vision. And then I looked back into that corner, and there's still no shadow. So, I didn't really scrutinize it too much when I first saw the shadow because I just assumed, oh, it's a shadow, no big deal. But it definitely was kind of odd that there was a shadow and then there wasn't. And as far as I know, no lighting changed outside.
Mhm.
So
Well, outside was the river.
Yeah.
That
the only
was
light
it.
outside was the one by the tracks.
So I don't think there was any way for car lights.
No.
Or anything like that.
No, there's
Whatever
no
light
roads
was there
'cause-
was a permanent lighting.
Right. Yep. So unless a very large boat or something went down and blocked lights from the other side of the river, I don't know.
So back in the main part of the attic where we were, Quaylen and I kind of stayed towards the door. One, because we wanted to see what was going on with the laser grid, and we were just keeping an eye on the camcorder because you did have it on a chair just to make sure. Plus, like I said, it was kind of crowded, so we're kind of keeping our distance.
Yep.
The hosts were, obviously trying to, begin an investigation, asking questions. And one of the questions asked was, are you okay with us being here? And mind you, there was already kind of commotion going on. The lights were going on and off. So people were talking, but we heard a very distinct no. And I assumed first that it was Bill down the hallway responding to something he heard. So he was saying no, like when we do the Estes method, I or whoever's under will say what they're hearing. So I assumed that's what he was doing as well.
It wasn't me.
And I tried to be like, no, I think Bill's talking. I think he's saying something. At that same time, our new friend Brian, he was kind of standing across from me. He heard it too, and Quaylen heard it.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, you didn't hear it?
No, I didn't hear it at first. Until after you guys showed me the video. But it was a very distinct no in the video.
Yeah, and it was definitely a male voice. There are only 3 guys there. Me, Brian, and Quaylen.
And to hear it first, to hear it, not the video, but to hear it, I did assume it was you. I thought you were repeating what, you were hearing. And you said, did someone say no? Or did I heard a no.
Yeah, I heard it came through the live EVP recorder I was listening to. I heard it very clearly, as clearly as I was hearing the rest of you.
But at the time, we didn't have the chance to actually check back and see.
No.
The investigation is continued.
But we did capture it
on the camera. Capture it.
So when you listen to it on the camera, you can hear people talking in the room, and there's a little bit of an echo to it. You can hear me in the other room afterwards, and you can tell that I'm quite a distance away. This no was a very breathy no, and there was no echo to it, as if it was right in front of the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Which means it was coming from the hallway. So bottom line,
and we were standing there, like we saw the full hallway, and you can even kind of see where the stairs are. So we would have noticed if someone had come up the stairs.
Yeah, and
if someone was in the hallway.
This is a 300-year-old house. You don't sneak anywhere in this house. No. Every board squeaks. So if they came up the steps, we would have heard them come up the steps. But this is a very clear disembodied voice. That is the first disembodied voice I've ever heard, which was awesome. So I'm actually gonna pop in the audio from this right here. You could go watch the video of it, of the camera pointing down the hallway. That's up on our YouTube channel, but the audio from it I'm going to put up right here.
Is it okay that we're up here?
No.
So yeah, you could hear that disembodied, breathy, just no. There's like a wheeze to it.
What'd you think of that, Q?
What, the no?
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. It did just it sounded like an old man. Like just a grumpy old man, like the rest of the house.
Well, they did say that there's apparently a grumpy old man up there, or a male presence that doesn't seem to be evil, but just seems to be miserable.
Yeah, that was the vibe I got from like almost the entire house. Besides, like, I think the only two places that I really felt it was like the Speakeasy, and the what was it? What bedroom? It was the one with the baby carriage in it,
Mm-hmm.
baby cradle.
Oh yeah, we'll be getting to that room. That was a fun room. Yeah, they said that there was a grumpy man when we took the tour of the place,
Mm-hmm.
and that they specifically said that there was nothing evil, nothing demonic there, but this grumpy entity will sometimes pretend to be to try to scare you away. That'll pop up later. So after this disembodied voice, they take the girl out of the bordello, and like, all right, well, this was a bordello. Let's have one of the guys go back there. So Brian goes back there. And I don't believe he said he got anything. Like he didn't feel anything, and he didn't hear anything. Oh no, I'm sorry. He said he heard a couple, like some shuffling and stuff while he was back there,
Mhm.
but that was about it.
The girl didn't hear anything.
No.
The one girl that went back there didn't really hear anything.
Right. And shuffling
But
back there, that could have been
us.
It could have been us. It could have been a rodent or a squirrel
Mhm.
or something.
It could have been anything.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you hear and feel everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have easily been any vibration or.
Yeah. And then this is where we get our first couple EVPs. The first EVP I'm going to play it's definitely a weird sound that I didn't hear anyplace else when I was listening through the audio. I can't make out any words in it. So I'm going to play it here, and you guys can kind of see if you can figure out what it is. If you could make something out of it, please let us know. So I'm going to play that one here.
You like spook?
So yeah, that was just a weird noise. I couldn't really make anything out of it. But the next one, they asked, can you stand in front of the hallway again and turn the lights on? And then we got an EVP right afterwards. So I'm going to play it first before I say what I think it says. So I'll play that here.
Can you stand in front of the doorway again and turn the light on?
So I kind of think it says, yeah. So can you stand in the hallway and turn the light on again? Yeah. But I think when you listened to it, you didn't hear that.
No, I think that's the one I didn't hear.
So yeah, again, it's kind of up to interpretation. It wasn't a very clear one. So, listen to it, make up your own minds on it. We don't really have a whole lot to say on it. But moving forward with the investigation, we heard a gunshot, which to me sounded like black powder, but I was also listening to it through that live EVP headphones. But we later ended up debunking it because we heard it the same thing a couple times throughout the night. It was definitely some sound coming from outside.
I think it was the train.
Was it? And there was also a factory
Probably
not
a train.
far away.
Yeah, I think it had something to do with the train itself, or like you said, there was a factory or something nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And then Quaylen then swaps places with you. So
Yep.
what was your feeling in that room?
It wasn't bad. Like, I didn't like again, like you'll hear this a lot. When they put me alone, I literally didn't really get anything. It was really calming. In that attic room, like it like seemed scary at first, but like when I was sitting in there, it was actually like really like just okay. Like it didn't seem like either way. either. Like it wasn't scary, but it also wasn't like calm. It was just like normal.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way when I was back there. There wasn't anything weird about it. It was just a room.
It was just like an old attic. Like it wasn't like I wasn't expecting anything either. Like anything to like grab me or talk to me or anything like that. I don't know. It just seemed very um just like a normal room. Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping to see something back there, but the closest I got was that shadow that was there and then wasn't there, which I can't really say what that was. It was just something I noticed.
I think that if you were just doing something mundane and not like there on an investigation, just going up the attic for some, mundane reason, that's when you would see something.
Yeah. Well, it throughout the entire night, it kind of seemed like activity would ramp up when we stopped paying attention to it and started talking amongst ourselves.
Aside from that which was very, intelligent and what happened during an investigation, I think the majority of our findings happened when we weren't really paying attention or not directly communicating with it. We were just
with the exception of the Estes method.
Yeah, with the exception of the Estes method, I'm talking about like, EVPs or like the REM pods going off. A lot of that happened when those in between moments, because mind you, this went from
8:30 until 4 a.m.
4 a.m. and we stayed there till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So, you have those moments where you're just, BSing and just, talking amongst ourselves. And that's when things kind of like, picked up. REM pods would go off. And I guess that's when we captured some EVPs that we weren't aware of. So I think that if you were just, not there for that reason, but something else, you probably would have had more communication.
Yeah. So the last couple of things that happened in the attic, the Ovilus asked for Pam. Now, Pam is the name of one of the investigators that works with the host, and they say that she's also a medium and has been there several times before, but wasn't there that night. Whether that's the Pam they were asking for or not, no idea. Me and Tanya heard some sliding around. It's like sliding sounds in the hallway.
Which again could have been just the house itself.
Yeah. But we were the only two that heard it.
Yeah.
And then someone caught a video that had an orb, but then immediately after the orb, there was this big flash of light. However, I watched their video and it looks like someone had turned on their flash because people were turning flashlights on and off the whole night. And so it just kind of looks like somebody had turned on a flashlight and you're getting a little bit of reflection.
Again, that was, I know I didn't even see. I know that she took it. I didn't even look. It was just so crowded.
Yeah.
But I think in that circumstance, they try to keep it, like only one person take a picture, make sure you say when you're taking it so we're aware of the flashlight.
And people were good about that, but if they turned on flashlights, they just turned them on and off.
Things were just, there was too much happening in a small room, is basically.
Yeah, and like everybody wanted to use all the toys all the time, and it just became too much. And then any little thing that happened, a lot of the people there just kind of jumped on it like, oh my God, that's something paranormal. It's like,
yeah.
No, good Q.
Oh yeah, and then there was like a group effect every time somebody would say something, so it would go from like that to like, oh yeah, I heard that too, or this happened too. And it was like with a lot of these things, it's like a lot of like a psychology where it's like like a chain, whereas one person hears something, everybody hears it, type deal. And so like you never know what's real, and what's like kind of like a fabricated thing during like one of those very overpopulated areas.
Now, I think we should say ahead of time that the host Ghost Hunts totally flat out said we don't guarantee activity, we don't fabricate anything. This is what you see is what you get. And
what they set up was very good.
So what they set up was great. If something happened, great. If something didn't happen, it didn't seem like they were pushing it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have people of all different belief levels. You
Mhm.
have severe skeptics and you have severe believers and everyone in between.
Yep.
So some people will take every little thing that happens and say that's paranormal. That's spirit speaking. And then there's others that are like, nope, that's outside, or that's the floor creaking, or so we had a mixed group of everyone.
Yeah, I know we tried to debunk everything that we.
Yeah, I think aside from that, no, I felt I was more like, all right, that's this, let's debunk this, let's debunk that. But that no, I would definitely say it was nobody that we saw.
Yeah.
Unless there was people downstairs. Like even so,
Even though
we
it
heard
was
people
so clear,
downstairs
like
when we.
I was in the other room and you could hear a distinct difference between
Like
that no and me in the other room.
It sounded like you were talking from the other room. I mean, that's how close it was.
Well, on the recording, it sounds like somebody right in front of the camera.
Yeah, it was like on the camera.
Because you hear me in the other room and you could hear that I'm at a distance.
And if I'm not mistaken, we've like when we're on our own, we captured, like when we're upstairs in the attic, I'm sure we captured the downstairs muffles.
A little
So
bit, but it didn't come through the recording on that much.
So
we did get one EVP while we were up there by ourselves.
But I mean, like from the other people.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, from the other people downstairs.
Yeah, when we were up there by ourselves, I could hear them,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't coming through on the recordings for the most part. Every once in a while they would, but for the most part.
But it was nothing so distinct and so clear that it felt like it was next to you. That one felt like, obviously, it felt like it was you calling down from the hall.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't. that was something I'm like, okay, that one is.
Yeah,
we'll put a pin in that for.
That's either something paranormal or an invisible guy.
Or someone hiding in like one of the closets or something.
Yeah. So at this point we took a little snack break, and they did provide beverages and snacks, and then we went down into the Speakeasy. Speakeasy was. I was not blown away by the Speakeasy. So one woman got her hair pulled while we were setting up, and she immediately blamed one of her friends. Which Quaylen, you came to the friend's rescue and said, no, she was just chilling. She's just sitting here.
Yeah.
And we set up the Phasma app, which is another one of these spirit box type apps that has all the echo to it. I at the time I didn't hear anything really, and I couldn't make out words in it. And even listening to the audio, I could still barely make any words out. I really hate that app. Why add the echo? It makes it so hard to hear anything.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not too fond of the apps. And her equipment was going off too. She was having difficulty with all the equipment.
Pretty much every piece of equipment she was using, the host was using, was giving her trouble. The Phasma app worked for a little while. Once she got it working, it started working for a little while, and then just the computer completely died. Her camera died, her recorder died, her speaker died. Yeah, like it was weird how many things just kind of died. We did have a REM pod on top of the steps that went off a couple times.
Yeah, that was I think that was towards the hallway.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I know it wasn't on the stairs, but it was towards the hallway.
The SLS mapped a few things, however she was holding in her hands. So my problem with the SLS is it can work really well if it's on a tripod and nobody's walking in front of it and it's just sitting at the same spot for a long period of time.
Kind of how they had it on in the attic.
Yeah,
and they had it up in the attic.
Great.
They had it on a chair. It was still, and it was facing the room that you're in.
Now the one in the basement, she was handheld. Now to her credit, she was trying to hold it still. She wasn't walking around with it, but she was still moving from here to every once in a while because
your body moves.
Yeah. And the SLS, like, it's a piece of software designed to find anything that it can possibly think might kind of be a human shape and then map it. And so it you get a lot of false positives with it, especially if you're moving around and walking around a lot, because then as soon as something moves, you're like, oh, it's a person. I gotta map this. So
All I know is when I see my first, real apparition, I want it to be a stick figure. Those things crack me up.
so they asked for a volunteer, and Q, you said, what do you need a volunteer for? And they took that to mean you're volunteering.
Mhm.
Poor Q got separated from us.
So many times.
Yeah, I just wanted to chill. Like honestly, I was wanting to give like I felt bad because I wanted to give everybody else a chance to do it. But like all I did was ask, and they immediately just were like, "Okay, come on," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, so they sent you into one of the back rooms of the basement.
Yeah, by the fridge.
Right. No, so the claim was that there was an African American guy seen out there by the fridge a few times.
Yeah, he was in like this like weird corner.
Mhm.
And I was really excited actually because they the way they kind of showed everything about the house, they had a lot of history and stuff and about like everybody who lived in the house, and then they got to this African American man and they had nothing. They were just like, yes, some people see him sometimes. Did they don't know why, he's just there.
It was just like a blurb.
And I'm like that's such a just an interesting thing, like this like speakeasy, and there's just this African American dude in the corner chilling, and he's just completely like just like a side thought, and I'm like, huh, I wonder what his story is. I wanted to know, but nothing really happened when I went back there.
Yeah,
It was dark and spooky, but it wasn't scary for the reasons that it was like eerie and it felt heavy. It was just dark and spooky.
well, when they told us about that, about seeing him back there, my first thought was, if you see a random black spirit in an old house in the basement, 9 times out of 10, that house was used as part of the Underground Railroad. So I asked about that, and they didn't know. There's no record of it ever being used for the Underground Railroad.
See, I take that as the 20s. Now, racism was still, very heavy in that era, and African Americans, they worked a lot of service jobs.
True.
More than likely, they were in the kitchen, or they were servants.
Yeah.
Or working in the sides. So, what's to say that he wasn't from that era?
True. There was no description of what he looked like, what clothes he was wearing, or anything that could give any indication. So,
Yeah,
it's just speculation on our part.
But maybe there's something.
It was such a vague blurb that like we couldn't really
but it resonated.
sucked.
And maybe there was something there, maybe because something obviously called
Yeah.
your curiosity to it, and you were drawn to it.
I was like, it's either because I know they didn't have slaves, but didn't they have servants?
Yeah.
And I was like, it could be it could be one of the former servants.
Mhm.
And but during the time, like like they were fighting the British and stuff, so I'm like, they could have also been harboring this dude for his safety. Because the person who owned the house was awesome, right? She was pretty cool. So I don't see why she wouldn't be like, hey,
during that time
down there.
During that time, during the Revolution, there was slavery, but a lot of the northern states, and I believe it was New Jersey, didn't have slavery. And so there wasn't really things as the Underground Railroad. That wasn't until the Civil War.
Right.
Oh no, I was saying like during the war, like during like the stuff that was going on, that dude was just down there chilling because
he's just like, I have no part of this.
Yeah, he didn't want to get brought into the middle of it, just like that woman didn't. So maybe she just like was like, hey, you can go chill out down there.
But see, when they brought him up, like I immediately envisioned the 20s.
Yeah, I
I-
immediately thought Underground Railroad.
I didn't think anything beyond that. I'm thinking some, just some guy working, the I guess the freezers or whatever that was considered.
Maybe he was just so the fridge was made out of cedar. Maybe he was just back there smelling it.
I know that fridge smelled great.
Like you were.
Um,
Yeah, Tanya just goes back there and she just walks into his freezer and just starts
The
taking
smell
deep
of
breaths.
cedar. It was like that musty cedar smell. It was so soothing.
but I went back there and I was just chilling on this like chair. It was a musty old basement. So it wasn't bad. It just wasn't like it's scary like all old basements are. It's kind of gross. With the kind of like you could smell like the mold on the stone and like the wetness in the air
Mhm.
and all I heard was because I had what was it called? It was the thing that amplified the noises.
Oh, the
Um,
live EVP.
Yeah, I had the live EVP and I heard very muffled versions of you guys. But like I couldn't really make out anything. And then I saw like whoever was taking pictures was taking pictures like right down the hallway, and like every time my eyes got adjusted to the dark, I would just see this bright flash of light. And then I would just completely have to get readjusted to the dark. But like nothing happened. I wasn't scared. I asked a few questions, but their recorder filled up like immediately, and I was just like, oh, okay, I don't really know what to do now.
That was one of the weird equipment issues. Like, you asked like 4 questions and the recorder was full,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they claimed that they had cleaned out that recorder prior to the investigation. So that's another
Yeah,
odd equipment
Yeah,
thing.
mind you, all of our equipment was fine.
Yeah, and
So
their
we're-
K2 was acting erratically, like it was just going off like crazy. So I brought mine up next to it, and nothing.
Yeah. So it's just like their equipment was, and obviously they're professionals. They had their stuff together. They were organized. It wasn't like
and equipment does break from time to time, but to have everything go at the same time was kind of odd.
Yeah. They also forgot about you in their queue. Now that
Yeah.
I think
Oh
of it.
yeah, I didn't even know that.
They told me like, did we send someone back there or something?
It was like, oh, maybe we should send somebody back there. And we're like, yeah, Q's already back there. Like, oh, I forgot he was back there.
Yeah, they gave me. I came over. I gave them the recorder because I didn't really know what to do. Because like I guess the whole point of me going back there was to ask questions. And they sent me back there without the recorder and just the live EVP, which I didn't hear anything. I was just hearing very muffled noises. And so I was just chilling in this chair in the dark, waiting for something to happen, and nothing happened. So I guess if they did forget about me, that they just left me in the creepy basement.
We would have found you eventually.
Yeah.
Or just left you.
I would have heard you guys leave. Definitely, the muffles would have stopped.
Yeah. So, after about this time, the Phasma box stopped working, thankfully. So they pulled out a spirit box, and it was one of the cheaper spirit boxes. It wasn't the SB7 that we use. And so the volume was oscillating. So as it would begin its sweep, it was quiet, and it would get louder as it went through. And then when it went to restart the sweep, it got quiet again. So that was kind of weird. They kept asking the spirit to stop messing with it. I'm like, yeah, no, this is happening every single time. This is an equipment issue.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing really came through except for one thing. Somebody asked, can you tell me who's doing that? And the spirit box very clearly said Reaper. So I'm gonna put that audio in here right here.
Can you please tell me who's doing that?
Did they say Reaper?
So yeah, it definitely says Reaper. They even question immediately, did that just say Reaper?
Mm-hmm.
And so, they claim that the one guy likes to pretend that he's something bigger and scarier than he is. And so I think, if anything, that's all it was. Because we were invading the Speakeasy, which speakeasy in the 20s, like this was a German speakeasy in the 20s that was probably male only. And here we're down here with a very large group of women, probably not happy we were there.
Probably not.
Yeah, so maybe trying to scare us out. The other thing was they got fascinated with the SLS because the one wall would change from gray to black. And everybody was fascinated by that. But the SLS can only pick up like 4 colors. So as soon as it transitions, like if a shadow transitions a little bit, it'll jump color. If you watch any of the ghost hunting shows where they use the SLS, like the colors in the background change constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nothing, absolutely nothing. I tried really hard to debunk it because it uses IR lasers to map out, and people were using IR lights, so I was trying to debunk it so they would stop harping on it, but that didn't go anywhere. But that's pretty much it for the speakeasy.
Yeah.
And that ended our big group investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And now it was free time. So we went right back into the attic.
Yep, that was our first step.
This time you guys sent me down into the bordello.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 rooms back there. One has a big cistern. The other 2 were at some point kids' rooms because there's drawings and
It was like a playroom it was supposed to be.
yeah. So the second room, because I didn't know which room to go into, so I just walked into each one.
Mm-hmm.
The first one I felt nothing. The second one, as soon as I walked in there, I'm like, oh, like this feels different. Like it feels like there's something here. And then the third room, nothing. So I went to that second room and sat there for a while. Got nothing. Went to the first room and sat there. I got 1 EVP. So I'm going to play that now, but again, I can't really make out what it's saying. I've tried a bunch of things to try to make it clearer, and I can't. So I'm going to play that now, and then you guys could kind of figure out for yourself what you think it might be saying. And if you think it says something, please let us know. So here's the EVP. Is there anybody in here that would like to talk? Yeah, see, it's kind of hard to hear,
Yeah.
but most of the EVPs we got were not great ones.
Meanwhile, Q and I were in
We're
the
just
attic.
messing around.
Yeah. That's when we realized the range with the sensor.
Yeah.
It was just us 2, and we're kind of just dancing around the area, and it was obvious that sensor had a wide range.
People were sitting right in front of it, and like the slightest movement was setting it off, and
I think there was someone sitting next to the wall.
Mm-hmm. Literally right in the line of sight of it. Like,
yeah. So everything surrounding it, there was somebody there.
And I was and when we were setting it off, it was quite a few feet away from it. Like it wasn't as close as you think it'd be. And so there was tons of people like in that corner specifically, whereas like the slightest movement was setting it off, and they were definitely not sitting still. And then we set up some balls to try to get the kids, like the kids ghost spirit dudes, to play with them, but they didn't want to.
Yeah, I think you guys had a REM pod up in the other room.
Yeah.
Or at the far end of the hall. That went off once. Like a quick little chirp.
I think it went off.
Yeah. So did it go off?
Listening to the audio, it sounds like it was that one.
Because they also had REM pods. I think they still had the REM pod downstairs in the second hall, like in the second floor hallway.
No, that was gone. That's the one they put on top of the steps in the speakeasy.
Oh.
Now I don't know if anyone else had a REM pod, or Sylvia did, but her first stop was the speakeasy. So
we probably went. I assumed that was their REM pod.
It could have been. it kind of it sounded like it was closer when I listened to the audio.
Mhm.
So I think it was ours.
Yeah,
But-
neither one of us were looking down there at that time. We were
Yeah.
like kind of in the middle of the room.
Every time it went off, because I think it went off like twice, we were like just talking.
Mm-hmm.
And we were not looking down there. And like when we tried catching it, it just wasn't going off. So it was like a game.
Yeah. And the only other thing that happened in the attic was you were getting whiffs of BO.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But it wasn't me. It wasn't Q.
I was worried it was me.
Coward.
It wasn't you.
But yeah, there's like distinct smells of like, that heavy oniony BO smell that you smell like, and I'm like, wow, someone stinks. I hope it's not me.
No, it wasn't you. So from there, we're like, all right, attic's dead. No pun intended. Let's go downstairs. Let's go to the bloody bathroom. So the bloody bathroom is called the bloody bathroom because supposedly somebody died in the tub. Whether it was murder or suicide, they don't know, but somebody died in the tub. They bled out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought they were just calling it that as like a ominous thing.
No. Somebody bled out in that tub.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we go down in there, and that's where we run into Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian was just about to start investigating there. I'm like, oh, well, we were supposed to do this. We were going to do this. And like, oh, well, I'm here by myself. Come on, we'll do it together. And so we wanted to do the Estes method in here, sitting in the tub. And he's like, what's that? So we explained the Estes method to him, and he seemed interested. So like, you want to try it? So this was his first time trying it. So he lays down in the tub, gets the headphones on, and starts going. And one of the first things he says was Robert.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 3 Roberts that have owned that house at one point. We asked, can you repeat one of our names? And we said all our names out loud. He said yes, but didn't actually repeat one of our names. But then the cool thing is another group that was just walking through the hallway, we heard Robert pop up on the obelisk. And we're like, oh, we just got a Robert. They just got a Robert.
Yeah, like I think as they were walking, one of them was like, "Oh, we got Robert on it's saying Robert,"
Yeah.
and I immediately like ran out because it wasn't immediately after he said Robert. There was
it was about a minute or two.
So I ran out and I found them.
Mm-hmm.
They were down the hall, and I said, "Did you guys just get a Robert?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So did we." And they kind of followed me back to the bathroom, and they stood in like the hallway, but like in like the doorway.
Yeah. And as soon as they showed up, this was a group of 4 women. As soon as they showed up, Brian says, woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then blonde. And one of the women was blonde.
Yep.
Got a few other words come through that didn't really jive with anything that we were doing. So we stopped talking to Brian or the spirit, and we started explaining to the women what we were doing, explaining the Estes method, what we were trying to do. And then Brian's like, hey, talk to me. It's like, well, you weren't answering us. So and
again, that's another like where like we kind of are ignoring the main quest.
Yeah.
I just
and that's when
talking,
things pop up.
and then like you either get a REM pod go off or something like talk to me. Like they obviously know when they're being
Very needy.
they're very needy.
Yeah. So we asked the woman that was blonde to ask some questions. And so they asked, are you here because of Carol? Brian said, what's that? What era did you die? And he said, fever. Oh, well, did you die of a fever? Yes. So the second Robert Field drowned in the river.
Mm-hmm.
But the other 2 Roberts, I don't know how they died. So it's possible they could have died from a fever. We don't know which Robert we were talking to.
They said, when we were talking to the people who hosted it, the ladies, they said he could have, like, one of them could have died from like the scarlet fever.
There was so many fevers, typhoid,
or whatever it was. It was one of the fevers during that time.
influenza.
but like but they're like, hey, it's possible. So like, he could have totally just passed away because of a fever, and they had this like sick area in the house anyways.
Yeah, like a
So
little
like I think that was
quarantine
part
room.
of that.
If,
Yeah.
if you think about it though, like when we have fevers, you want to try to cool yourself off.
So you go lay in the tub.
So you lay in the tub, or because the cold porcelain and the cold
yeah.
water.
So that's the point where Brian stopped. He's like, all right, I'm done. I've had enough. But he said that because we had warned him that you might get visions.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he kept seeing a blonde woman and had a sense of like fever or sickness. And he said that he had gotten Robert come through before. This was not his first time investigating White Hill. So he said he had gotten Robert several times before, and Robert pops up quite a few more times throughout our investigation. So this is where I jumped under the Estes method, first time since Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys asked if Robert was still there. If he said that we are still listening and you could speak through Bill. And so I said power. And then we got an EVP that repeats power.
Oh, cool. I didn't hear that EVP.
You didn't hear that one?
No.
All right, so I'm going to play that one now.
You can speak through Bill. We're still listening.
Power.
Oh my God,
Oh.
you did hear it.
Jeez.
Play it again. One more time.
You can speak through Bill. We're still listening.
Power.
Wow, that was like really like right after. That
Yeah.
was like literally like you're like power.
Yeah, that's right there. I thought you had
Yeah.
heard that one.
No, I didn't hear that
Oh.
one. I think I would have been like, obviously the reaction I just gave.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, that was a good one.
That was actually power.
Yeah.
That you
Oh, that was
actually
clear.
heard.
Yeah.
That was a good clear one.
So Q, you asked if there were any kids there. And then the rest of you guys just started talking about kids in general.
Yeah.
And I said Jack. I'd never found any of the names of the Fields kids that died there.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible one was Jack. That was a common name back then. So I don't know. And then you guys started talking amongst yourselves again about the Phasma app.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Bill, don't. Don't know why. No other context. And then were you here during Prohibition? And I said cold. And that was the last thing I got. You guys pulled me out because we really weren't getting a lot.
Much. But that was really cool. Like when you're under that was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you didn't get much though. Like as you were under, I'm like, wow, this is not doing it right
Yeah.
now.
Well, so when I was under, like it kind of felt like I was sinking into the tub. Now this is an old, hard porcelain tub,
Mhm.
right? It felt like I was laying in foam.
Oh.
Like I felt like I was sinking into it, like I was being
Yeah.
enveloped by it, which was kind of a weird sensation. So then we decided to go into the kids' room, which was the room that had that one creepy doll.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the one room that they had. They say that the kid stays in the closet, but they had put some dolls out for some reason once, and it kind of claimed one of the dolls as its own, and gets aggravated whenever the doll gets removed. So they leave that one doll in there all the time. So we wanted to go in and
one of the workers, one of the hosts of White Hill, not one of. I don't think he was from Ghost USA. He was from White Hill itself.
mm-hmm.
Claimed he saw an apparition of a
Yeah.
little girl playing near the doll after a group tour. And I think we forgot to mention it that White Hill Mansion has tours.
Oh yeah.
It's a historical society. They're trying to renovate the house
And bring it back. So they had the Speakeasy completely renovated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you're in it's just south of Trenton, not too far from Philadelphia. So if you're in that area, it's a cool house with an interesting history. Go check it out.
Yeah. So that's why they're open to places, ghost hunting tours, because
they're
it
trying to
helps
raise money for
money.
renovations and all that. So we go into the kids' room, and Sylvia was already there.
Mm-hmm.
Brian came with us, and Sylvia was set up with a REM pod, and she said prior to us coming in, she had felt because she was sitting her back to the closet, she had felt something kind of tingly go through her, and then the REM pod, which was sitting in front of the doll, started going nuts.
Yeah, she was getting like a lot of.
Yeah, her REM pod was going off while we were in the bathroom. Like I kept hearing it in the back room.
Mhm.
Yeah, like it was going off like way before we went in there, and then when we went in there, it started kind of like dying down.
We probably scared it away.
Yeah, so I was thinking like all of us coming in there at once.
Yeah. However,
They said she was shy.
well, and some of what we got through the Estes method kind of says to the contrary. So we explained to Sylvia that we wanted to do the Estes method, and explained to her what it was, and she was familiar with it, just didn't know it by that name.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, "Yeah, sure, come on in. Be part of our investigation, and let's do it." So Tanya, you went under,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the first things you said is, "I play with the light," which we took to mean the REM pod.
Yeah.
So then you said, "Who are you?" So we all introduced ourselves, and you said, "Can we play with the doll? This is my doll." Here's my word. You said Emily. Again, I don't know any of the names of the kids that died there.
And Emily was a common name.
Yep.
It's an old-fashioned name.
But then you said Abby, and this kind of hit Brian. So Brian has a personal connection to an Abby, and he said that Abby pops up a lot in his investigations. I'm not going to tell the story because that's his story to tell. I don't know if he wants it out there or not, so I'm not going to tell it. But he has a connection to an Abby.
Yeah, and that kind of hit him.
Yeah,
and he said that's something that comes up during different investigations he's had.
Mm-hmm. You said that slave, which immediately made me think of the guy in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Then you said she's pretty. You said Whitehall. Then you said in the doll. So we asked, well, are you in the doll? And you said, are they? So I don't know if maybe she's trying to attach to the doll or something. I don't know. You said Robert again.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things you say later on kind of felt more adult.
Mm-hmm.
So Sylvia even said that she thought Robert came with us. You asked, where's my ribbon? Did you go outside? Then Q, you asked, can you play with the doll? And he said, all of us. And then, get out, Bill. And you know me, I don't like being told what to do. So I said, well, I'll leave if you touched your red light. And you're like, can you just get out? Like, all right, fine. I'll go over here. So I went into the adjoining room.
Yeah.
And God, I could get kicked out of rooms all the time.
I know, right?
And then it says the big man, which I assumed was Brian because Brian's quite tall.
Mm-hmm.
It said move to the side. So he goes. So there's these two adjoining rooms. There's doors on either end of the room, both adjoining. So I went out one, Brian went out the other. And you asked where your parasol is. You said my mother, she's downstairs. So assuming this is one of the Fields kids, Merryfield is often associated with being on the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm walking around in the other room and I see a mirror and I thought, ooh, I'm going to try scrying since I got kicked out of that room. Now it's pitch black. I can't see. So I'm looking through the viewfinder of my camera with the full spectrum and I don't see a chair and I walk into it. You hear on the audio, you hear me walking to a chair saying ow. And then in the other room, you yell, boom. And I just stopped and wait, did she just say boom after I walked into a chair? So that's pretty crazy. I'm actually going to throw that audio in right here.
Who's downstairs?
Ow.
Is that you?
That was me. Did she just say boom after I walked into a chair?
I'm tired.
I think she said boom right after you hit that thing.
They made everything move?
So that was kind of funny.
That was.
And you said Sutton, which is interesting because you work on Sutton Road.
Yeah. I didn't even know I said Sutton.
I don't think that actually ties into where you're working. it could mean many other things, but interesting
And for the
nonetheless.
most part, like when I do the Estes method, I don't know about you, but I have no recollection of everything I say. Some things I do recall, but I don't remember everything I say. So I have no idea saying something.
Yeah, you pretty much fall asleep when you go under.
I'm pretty sure I can fall asleep when I go under.
Yeah. You said Raggedy Doll,
Mm-hmm.
and then Brian heard 2 knocks. I didn't hear them. I was in the same room with them. I didn't hear them. They're not on the recording. Now I was moving around, so I kind of thought it was the floor creaking,
Mm-hmm.
but he said no, it was a distinct knock. So you said Mary, it's frozen. Then you said it is blue. And we get blue pop up a lot in investigations. We had blue pop up a couple times in this one. We had blue pop up in other investigations.
What's the significance of what's the color blue? Since you brought it up, so Q, what was your thought process? Because you stayed in the room for that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, he was sitting down next to you.
I was like, I really want something to happen. With like that doll, because I know they said that the little ghost spirit little girl was like shy or whatever, and I'm like, oh, so we're probably scaring her away. That's why like the REM pod's not going off, and she wants, like, she's freaking out about the doll and like where her stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, we just probably scared.
More than likely, like just if she was comfortable with just Sylvia, and then we just all like walk in.
It was just such a like it's such like a explosion of like people, and it just probably scared her off and kind of like made it not as genuinely as a good of a good like it honestly, if we just put like if we had one person in there doing the Estes method, it would probably been way better.
Probably.
Yeah, Q, at one point you said that we should split up with the Estes method, have somebody in a room, and then do it over walkie-talkies.
I wanted to try that.
Yeah, I want to do that too. I wasn't sure how to set that up with our walkie-talkie, so that's something we need to figure out, and we could do it again on a different investigation, because I like the idea.
Well,
I just try to set it up.
I was saying
That's what
I was saying whoever's under, it just holds the button for the walkie-talkie, and they're just saying whatever they hear, and we're asking questions in a separate room.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah, that was my like idea for it.
I got you. I assumed when you said that you wanted two-way communication over the walkie-talkie.
Oh no. We just listen. Whoever's asking the questions, and then whoever's under is the ones that just saying them to the walkie-talkie the whole time.
But if we have the live EVP,
that could work.
One of us can go under, and you listen. And...
as long as you have a direct line of sight, even like if it's down the hallway or whatever, we should be able to hear it. Yeah, we could try that. We'll try that in the prison.
Oh yeah, will we?
Yeah. So I looked up blue. Blue is associated with wisdom, joy, opportunity, patience, peace, truth, loyalty, insight, happiness, luck, growth, and water. Another interesting thing with blue in this house is in Paranormal Lockdown, which is one of the ghost hunting shows. Katrina Weidman saw a blue mist in one of the rooms.
Oh yeah,
in White Hill.
yeah.
So again, I don't know if this is a connection to that, but so you asked it, it is blue or maybe purple. And then at one point Brian sneezed and you said, "Who did that?" So I eventually did make it over to the mirror without walking in the chairs.
Uh-huh.
Keep in mind, there's only one chair in the entire room, and I walked into it. So I tried scrying. I got nothing. You said Michael. I don't know any Michael associated with the house.
Very common name.
Yeah.
During that time.
So we go down to the first floor into what was the restaurant or what was the kitchen for the old restaurant. So we set up a REM pod in one of the areas that we weren't allowed to go into. We just kind of reached over and put it in
Yeah.
there. And then nothing really was happening. So we were just kind of bullshitting. And Brian started talking about Bobby Mackey's, asking us if we had ever gone there. And the REM pod went off. So we start paying attention to the spirits again. And a little bit later on the obelisk, he got Spoon. And now keep in mind, we were in the kitchen. So there was a whole like big bowl of ladles. So that, could have been that. But the only other thing that we got in that room was, Hugh, you suggested that we go upstairs to that one bedroom. So there was one room that still had a bed in it.
Yeah.
And you said, yeah, that's kind of a cool room. Let's go up there. And we get this EVP that I'm going to play right now.
You guys want to try the bedroom next? So, I don't know, that place seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which bedroom are you guys? The one on the second floor?
Yeah, the one that's like right before the one room that we were all.
So did you guys hear that EVP?
No.
That's the one where it's like 5 syllables, I think.
Yeah, it's a full sentence. So Q, I'm going to play that for you.
You heard it, Q. You hear it.
Yeah.
You guys want to try the bedroom next? So, I don't know, that place seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which bedroom are you guys?
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I know that.
What? Alright, awesome.
Which bedroom?
Yeah, right after you say pretty cool.
That was me saying alright, awesome.
That was not you saying awesome.
That was me.
Wait, what?
I whispered it. I was like, alright, awesome. Like right after.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think awesome is in the vocabulary of the like the.
Wait.
That was me. I whispered it. I was like, "Alright, awesome," because everybody agreed. We're like, "Oh yeah, let's all go up there." And I'm like, "Alright, awesome."
Oh, cute.
Q, that was one of my favorite EVPs of the night.
Sorry.
And you ruined it.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
And did I say when I first heard that? I'm like, what kind of sounds like Quaylen?
That was
Yeah.
definitely me.
And here we are trying to debug. I'm like, wow, so it's like,
It's like, oh, we got like a whole sentence. This is awesome. It's like, oh, it's
and that makes sense.
No.
I was like, "Alright, awesome."
do?
That was like
Yeah.
right after.
This is the whole point. Like, look how easy. I mean, that's actually a good learning experience. Look how easy. We're all in that room.
Yeah.
And for Q to say a whisper or go down a couple octaves.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah, that one was me.
Thanks
Buzz-
for shattering those spirits there.
I'm
Buzz
sorry.
killed.
The favorite one was no.
That wasn't an EVP though.
That was a disembodied voice, but that was like the best piece.
Yeah. Well, now the power is the best EVP.
Yeah, power is. Did you by chance whisper power afterwards?
I don't think so. But I don't know.
And I wanted to bring it up. So the REM pod going off, that happened when we were just again.
Yeah, we were
just
talking
shop
about.
talking.
Yeah, we were talking about
And-
different places we investigated
Yeah.
and where we wanted to go.
And by the time we all conjugated into the kitchen, aside from the host that were in the room, like what do we call it? Like the
the staging area.
the staging area, we were the only ones left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody left.
Everybody left.
Because right before Q suggested we go back upstairs, Sylvia comes back in and let us know that we were the only ones left.
Yeah.
Like the 5 of us, you, me, Q, Quaylen, Brian, and Sylvia. Everybody else left.
And I think there was the three of them just sitting in the staging area.
Yeah.
They weren't roaming around. They were just chilling, because they're letting us have our free time.
Yeah.
So there was no more like, oh, it could be another group making noise or anything like that. That was kind of off the table now.
Well, what was really crazy was it was only like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and they left.
That was
It's like,
early.
we have like hours left. Why are you leaving? We're not complaining, but
So yeah, it was pretty cool. Like it even got you more excited that you had like the house literally
Mhm.
to yourself now.
So we go upstairs. Sylvia and Q, they go into the bedroom that Q had suggested.
Yeah.
We went across the hall, which it at one point was converted to a bathroom. We're calling it the carriage room because as soon as you walk in, there was a baby carriage.
And that was the only room where I got like a severe heaviness. Like
You walked in, your exact words were, "Wow, I feel heavy in here. Whoa, I feel like my legs are gonna give out."
and it feels like that, like I know, like in my house, and I've told you this before, like you walk into a room and there's just that heaviness there.
Yep,
So
I
you're
felt
like,
that.
you're like, okay, I'll come back later.
Yeah, this was not like a negative heaviness. It was
it's just like, there's a crowd. There's something there. There's a presence of something.
Yeah, you immediately said, "I want to do the Estes method, and I want to do it here."
I knew that I know that feeling. I'm very familiar with that feeling, and only in that room, that whole night, that was the only time I felt that feeling.
Yep. So we set you up for the Estes method. So Brian had said that one of the times he investigated it before, he had a lot of activity in that room, especially with dowsing rods. He had dowsing rods just going completely nuts. So I pulled out my dowsing rods, but then you were getting such good stuff in the Estes method, I completely forgot I was holding them. So the first thing you said was, "I'm in this room." Okay, well, what's your name? Robert. So once again, Robert's following us around. You said, "I'm fine, little boy." And Brian asked, "How old are you?" And the ovilist said 40. Now, I had not been able to find what the age of any of the Roberts were when they died. But
40 is pretty old for like
1700s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so like maybe it was like a later era Robert. Yeah.
Later era Robert.
And then you said that you heard a woman whisper, "That's not how it went."
I heard a woman on my left side, and it had nothing to do with what I was hearing through the spirit box. I heard a lot of like female voice on my left side. Now, mind you, I was sitting on the trunk. There was a wall on either side of me. It sounded like how I would describe it. Like I thought Q and Sylvia were on the opposite end of that wall talking.
Which they were.
And I heard a dog.
So Q and Sylvia were on the other side of that wall talking.
But not at that time when I heard
No,
it.
they were, but I couldn't hear them. Yeah, I could not hear the two of them talking. Like I just barely hear it. There's no way you could have heard them talking with those headphones on when I can barely hear it without them on.
I said to you, are they talking? I hear them. Like there's a woman talking on my left side, and I heard a dog.
Yeah, there was no dogs in the house.
I heard. Now, afterwards, when we were talking to the historians, they said they just uncovered the fact that there was a Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think it's a yippy dog. I don't think it's a tiny dog, but maybe like a mid-sized dog. It sounded like it could have been a puppy.
Could have been. Yeah.
But I heard like that, the dog sounds, like the, not barking, but like yips.
Yeah.
So you said a few more things that didn't, like, "Boy, excuse you, where's Laura? I'm telling." They didn't really line up with anything, any questions being asked or anything. And then you said, "Hi, Brian." So he says hello. And then on the ovilus, it got something unholy. So he comes over and shows me the ovilus, and he goes, "Look, it just said something unholy." So Brian asked, "Is there something unholy here?" And I said, "Or are you just messing with us?" And Tanya, you went, "Unholy? Let me have a look. How does this work?" I'm actually good. Like, it was crazy. I'm gonna actually play that audio here.
Hi, Brian.
So, hello? Something. Unholy again. Is something unholy here?
Or are you just messing with us?
Yeah.
Unholy?
Jesus Christ.
Let me have a look.
you kidding me?
Where's this work?
Could she have heard me?
Tanya, can you hear us? Seriously, can you hear us? But yeah, like, and like your whole voice changed, like unholy. Like you were shocked. Like there's nothing unholy here. What are you talking about? Let me have a look. And even like me and Brian, we were just looking up. Like I just like, holy shit, really? And he's like, is this for real? Can she hear us? Because it was immediate. As soon as we said, is there something unholy here? And you're like, unholy? So I asked you, I said, can you hear us? Tanya, seriously, can you hear us? And you were just quiet. But yeah, that was I'm well aware of how those headphones work. I'm well aware of the Estes method and how little you can hear. But with how like immediate that was, I had a question whether or not you were actually able to hear
But
us.
I would have told you I was, because I don't like
I
noise.
know, but I had to question it because it was too perfect.
Yeah.
I really am up for being separated. I'm scared, like terrified, because not only when you go under the Estes method, you are completely like isolated
Vulnerable.
in your mind.
Yeah.
But not to know what's going on and being alone, I don't know. But I don't know. I want to do it because it kind of takes away that, like, can I hear you?
Yeah. No, we'll definitely have to do some of that. If you're up for it in the prison. If not, we'll do it someplace
Maybe
you're more
we'll
comfortable.
see how
We could
we'll
do
see.
it. We could do it in one of the less spooky rooms in the prison, maybe. Like,
We'll see how the schematics are, like how it's all laid out, and
Yeah.
and like if it's like you can still see me, I think I feel comfortable.
Mhm.
I want to know that you have eyes on me. I don't think I want to be like in a room like across the hall, and I just want you to be able to see me.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure something out to try that out. So then at one point you said, give him a minute. And I asked, well, give who a minute? You're like, who do you think? You said it very snarky, like, who do you think? I think you mean Robert. And you said, I'm here. I said, well, what's your name? And you said, the blue light. So blue light
There's
popped up
blue
again.
What
And
color are the REM pods? They're REM pods, not
theirs, they had multicolored lights on it. They have red, green, blue, and yellow. And then the obelisk said, death, cause, river. Well, the second Robert Field that lived in the house drowned in the river. And you said, falling. And I said, well, did you fall in the river? You said, who told you? And then you said 1718 keeps popping up in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in 1718? I fell. And then the obelisk said justice. So the house was built in 1722. Robert fell into the river and drowned in 1775.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happened in 1718 there. I did a little bit of digging and I couldn't find anything that, lined up with anything that's going on here. So I don't know why 1718 kept popping up.
maybe one of the kids fell in the river.
Well, the
house wasn't even built yet.
the house wasn't built till.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what the.
Maybe they saw the river and they're like, I want to build a house here.
Maybe. You said, we asked, well, why did you fall? Were you pushed? And you said, and then there was one. So
Maybe they're twins.
maybe.
And the evil twin pushed the good twin.
Yeah. No, that was kind of weird. And then you said, where's my family? They moved. And I said, are you a member of the Fields family? You said, yeah. I said, they did move. They moved to Princeton. And you said, well, we need to leave. So I assume that may have been like Mary Field or one of her kids or something.
Mm-hmm.
You said Adam. We asked who Adam was, and you said he's the baby.
Okay, could be the baby.
Mm-hmm. You said Joanne. We asked who Joanne was, and you said witch. there's no history of any witch things going on around there, at least none that we can find.
Or was it witch WHICH?
It could have been that witch. I don't know.
Like which Joanne are you talking about? Like that one?
That very well could be. I don't know. And then the obelisk said tub toilet. So this was a room that was converted to a bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a tub and a toilet next to it.
There's weird toilets randomly placed around that house. Did you notice that, Q?
Yeah, there's just some weird places.
Like the house itself had such unique structure. Like there were things that made no sense.
No.
Like stairways
these really old houses, that's often the case because they're usually built and then added onto and at some point converted to something else, and so you just end up with weird stuff.
It's like, yeah, let's put this toilet right here in this weird room. And...
So I had mentioned while we were there when we were talking about Penhurst that I almost bought a house right down the street from Penhurst, and I didn't because it was a lot like this house in terms of the amount of work it needed. And it was built in the same era, like late 1700s. One of the things that was kind of weird about that house was there was one set of steps you go up, and right on the top of the steps was a toilet. Yeah, it was weird.
That makes no sense.
No.
They're like, yes, toilet here.
It's like playing The Sims and you just randomly throw a toilet
So at one point you said around here, and we asked, well, what's around here? And you said the unholy ones. So unholy pops up again. And then most of the rest of what you said didn't really connect to what we were asking. You hear it, voice, hit the light, see you scared me, go away, retreat, army men, uncheck, and then that's when you ended it.
It could have been no, I always have this theory that spirits and if they are real, I like to believe that they're actually stuck in the era they died in, or the era they lived in. And so that right there just sounds like they're like, hey, hit the light, right? Turn off the light. And then they're like, hey, retreat because there's people coming, armed men.
Yeah, I mean you make a good point. This could be, residual stuff coming through. Yeah, non-intelligent residual stuff, because a lot of what you were saying kind of lines up with each other. It just didn't line up with what we were asking. So
and at the same time, it could just be random, radio bullshit.
Yeah. So after this, we started talking about, all right, well, where do we want to go next? At this point, there was only a couple rooms that we hadn't investigated on our own. There was one room on the second floor, one room on the first floor, and the Speakeasy.
Mm-hmm.
So Sylvia suggested that we go down to the Speakeasy. And I was like, all right, well, we went down there, and that's pretty much where we spent the rest of the evening. We set up one of our coffin pods over by the freezer. I put my new Rodave antenna near the tunnel. Got nothing on the Rodave antenna. Something was going screwy with it. I was getting weird staticky stuff coming through. So I got to investigate that. I don't know if it was the antenna itself or the recorder. So I got to play around with that one. And then we set up REM pods and K2s all over the bar. Got them on the bar. There was a back corner where Q, you said you thought that's where the big boss man would sit. So we put one there on that table.
Yeah, they said he died over there. Yeah, they said he died. The guy who owned the Speakeasy died over there. I don't know how true that was, but they're like that's what we think happened, because they're like, we don't know if anybody died in this house. It's all speculation, but we think he died over there. So
yeah,
so I don't think they're legally allowed to say somebody got killed in the house. But
no, they say that people were killed in the house.
No, they followed it with it's speculation. Because I don't think they can say it.
So yeah, and they also said that there's somebody down there that was, that's kind of where you get the grumpy man and
Well, when we went through the initial walkthrough with the historian, she talked about how, for some reason, whatever is down there does not like her.
Yeah, it
She
actually
goes
threw
behind.
glass
She
at
goes
her.
behind the bar and it throws things at her. It ripped her necklace off. Apparently, it
Mhm.
just really has a natural hatred for her, or dislike for her. And apparently, I guess all women, it doesn't really care for.
Right. So knowing that, Sylvia immediately went behind the bar.
Mhm.
And I don't remember who said it, but somebody said, "Can you set off one of these if you don't want her behind the bar?" And one of the REM pods went off.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. So we said,
It's
"Well,
pretty crazy.
so you don't like women behind the bar?" And that's where we got another EVP. And again, it's not something that I can really make out. So we'll play it now, and you guys can kind of hear for yourself.
You don't like a woman behind the bar?
Did they say it was some tough guy down here?
What's the
Yeah.
tough guy?
Tough guy.
Throwing stuff?
Throwing stuff. Beating women.
Yeah, you hear at the end there, I played it twice more.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
If when I had it in Audacity and I cranked up the volume,
Volume,
listening to
yeah.
the
I hear
headphones,
something.
there's something there. I kind of thought maybe it was I'm not a sissy, because you were saying something about it being a tough guy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but yeah, it was one of the quieter EVPs. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence.
It could have been one of us whispering too, because we were like whispering side
now that it-
conversations the whole time.
Now that I know that Q was going around whispering and stuff.
Well, yeah, like no, like there during that whole thing there in the speakeasy, we had like side conversations going on. We were trying to kind of like
Yeah.
talk to this thing, push it over, you know.
Mm-hmm. So we started playing 20s music and
Yep.
German music to try to entice activity, because it
Because they used
was
to have music down there.
yeah, it was a speakeasy. It was in a German restaurant, so they said it was primarily Germans. So we're like, all right, well, let's play some 20s music. Let's play some German music and see if we can entice some stuff.
And I think we got some things.
We had pods go off a couple times with
pods
it.
go off, and
And then I forget who suggested it, but somebody suggested, well, maybe someone should go under the Estes method, and then your name got thrown out there.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, Mom should go under the Estes method.
Mom should do it.
And you're like, all right.
You know, I'm not the only one.
You know, I said I was bad at it, and it's true. I suck at the Estes method.
It-
I
it
don't
didn't
think I
work
get tranced enough.
It takes practice.
It does.
And then I was like, and I don't think Bill wanted to do it, so you were like the last person.
So as soon as you went under, the obelisk said beside, and you said, well, we said, well, who are you beside? And you said, I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go for a little while without a whole lot going on. So we start all talking amongst ourselves, and you're like, I'm right here. And I'm like, well, all right, well, you haven't been answering our questions, so we stopped talking to you. And then so somebody asked, what did you used to do here? You said, we can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not answering us. And you said, oh, that girl. So I said, Sylvia or Tanya? And then Sylvia's off sitting at one of the tables going, not me, not me, not me, not me. And you said, Sylvia.
So basically, she just called herself.
Pretty much. Yeah. We got Bob come through, and then beer.
Mm-hmm.
Then the obelisk, as soon as you said beer, the obelisk said want, sing, which we assumed it meant it wanted the music back on, because by this point we had shut the music off.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, give me a drink. So Brian says, do you want the music back on? And the obelisk said, correct. So we grabbed your phone, because we were playing it off your phone, queued it back up, and I guess you were doing it on YouTube, and an ad started. And as soon as the ad started, the REM pods go off, and
Mom
like,
started freaking out.
you freak out and throw your headphones off. Like, what the hell's going on? And, yeah,
It really didn't like the YouTube ad.
no,
I get it. I get it. I don't like ads either.
nope.
So,
I get it.
It's like, what the hell is this?
So you go back under, and we start talking amongst ourselves again with
Uh-huh.
the music playing, and you're like, "Hey, you," trying to get our attention again. And you said, "It's a party." Like, well, yeah, it is now. We got the music going, and so Brian and Sylvia are sitting at a table, and you said, "Get up." And I'm like, "Oh, you want Brian and Sylvia to get up?" Yeah, it's not a party if you're sitting. And you said, "It's our party." Sylvia asked, "Well, what are we celebrating?" And you said, "Our party. You aren't invited." And so I said, "Okay, well, set off one of the REM pods and we'll leave." You said, "No." Kind of a stubborn spirit. And then you said that you felt like something was grabbing your
Yeah,
arm.
I do remember that. My left arm, I felt like something was trying to like tug at my sweatshirt.
Mm-hmm. So I asked, "Is there a reason that you are grabbing Tanya?" And you said, "What are you going to do about it?" And then you hear Q in the background go, "Ooh, he's challenging me, Bill."
Ooh, fight.
So I'm like, "All right." I said, "Trust me, my friend. You don't want to challenge me. You want to be big and tough? Come grab me." And nothing happened. I didn't get grabbed.
What would you do if it did grab you?
I don't know, honestly.
Like,
Scream.
you're like tough and like, what would you do?
I don't know. I honestly don't
Like,
know.
would you like somersault across the room or something?
He didn't think that far ahead,
I
you
didn't
know?
think that far ahead.
Like I
I just
really
don't
hope
like being
I
challenged, so I challenge back.
I really hope I get to see that someday. I want to see like
Yeah, it's gonna grab you back one day, and you're just gonna like
what are you gonna do? Like, then what are you gonna do? But wait,
I would be scared shitless. So I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, this thing
Well-
can touch me.
So after nothing happened, you said, "Are you threatening me?" I said, "Yeah, a little bit. I don't want you grabbing Tanya, so you can come grab me." Nothing happened.
mhm.
And then somebody's phone made a sound. I don't know if they were
It was
playing
probably
on
my
it.
phone.
Yeah, I don't know if it was playing on it or if a text came through or whatever. And you said, "Do you hear that?" And then the room started getting really heavy.
Mhm.
Like it started to feel really heavy. That was the first time I felt anything in the speakeasy. Sylvia says that she was starting to get the chills, that she was starting to feel it get heavy. Then the K2 goes off. Q asked, "If someone is here, can you make it go off again?" And you said, "I feel you." You said, "Home is heaven," which we don't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Or maybe like the
I
house.
always think
Heaven.
she like taps
Yeah.
into the Christian channel.
like,
We get some like weird we get some weird things during the Estes method about like
happens.
heaven and hell and the devil walking among us and stuff, and it's like I don't know if it's
I never
like
said that.
some like crazy preacher that she taps into or like
Well, the
or
saying
it's-
home is where the heart is and stuff like that. Home sweet home, maybe like
yeah, like something
saying-
like that.
maybe
Home
they're
is
saying
heaven.
like this place is heaven. This is just where
maybe I'm at Haven,
Maybe.
but like you know,
Haven, yeah.
Yeah, it could have been Haven. So Sylvia spoke of, and she said that her throat was starting to feel heavy,
Mhm.
like she felt a pressure on her throat. And so we start talking, and we kind of said, "Well, this was probably gentlemen only,
Mhm.
and people also supposedly got Shanghaied here, so it's probably not happy that there's women down here at all." And when I mentioned Shanghaiing, you said, "Right here." I'm like, "Oh, did you know about the people getting Shanghaied?" And you said, "Yeah, I'm up to it." Like, no, I'm not asking you if you wanted to it. I said if you knew about it. And you're like, "Oh, no."
Well, in that case, I know nothing about that.
So I at that point I started adjusting my camera,
Yeah.
and you said a little bit higher. So I pointed the camera up, and you said, "No, a little bit down." put the camera down.
Did we get anything? We didn't
Nothing.
get nothing on that.
I kind of felt like I was being screwed with. And you said that you felt like somebody was standing right in front of you. Now you were sitting at the bar. At this
Yeah.
point, Sylvia was out of the bar. I was sitting back behind there, and I was right in front of you. So it could have been me that you were feeling.
It could have been. I just felt like something was there.
And then you said, "Get the rope, tie her up." So I decided to play along and say, "Well, which one? And where's the rope? We'll do it. We just need to know who." And you said, "Yep." And then you threw off the headphones. You're like, "I'm done." And as soon as you threw the headphones off, all the REM pods went off. So that was the second time you took the headphones off, the REM pods went off.
You really pissed it off. It was trying to tell us who to Shanghaiing her.
Yeah. And then as we were catching you up as to what happened, the REM pods kept going off.
Yeah.
Every time we brought up something that happened, a REM pod would go off. He's like, yeah, that was us. We did that. We said that. And that was pretty much it in the basement. That was it for the speakeasies. And at this point, it was just about 4 a.m. So we go back up to the base camp, the staging area, and the hosts are there, and they said, "You'll never believe this EVP we just got." And because they were there, and they turned on their recorder at one point, and as soon as they turned it on, before they even ask a question, you hear a very clear hello come through it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brian got a recording of it, and he sent it to me. However, he was using an iPhone, so it saves it as a CAF file, because God forbid Apple use standard anything, they had to go do their own thing. So I am currently attempting to convert it to an MP3. If I can convert it to an MP3 before we're done, ready to post this, I will play that EVP right here. If you don't hear it, then I was unable to convert it.
We love to hear this stuff.
Hello, spirit.
But we did hear it. And
We all listened to it. We all heard
and
it.
she was like, hello. Like, it said hello. And then she's like, hello, spirit.
Yeah, her voice, they're like their voices,
was
like
a male
people
spirit.
talking were very like distinctive as well. And the hello was like completely different voice.
Yeah, the hello was definitely male, and the only males in the building were down in the speakeasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I know that there was one gentleman in the beginning. I think he was part of the White Hill.
Right, but he left right after the tour.
He left.
Yeah, they gave us the tour, and then the people that work for White Hill left.
Yeah, he left, but
yeah, that was pretty much it for the investigation. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool, especially with that no.
Yeah.
that was probably the best part of the
And,
whole thing was
the-
capturing that.
The power EVP was a good one, and then we had some
The
great
power
stuff
one,
with
yeah.
the Estes method.
I think we should go back and listen to the power one because I want to know if that was cute.
We can go back and listen to it.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
It might be me.
Speak through Bill. We're still listening.
Power.
Could have been me. I do repeat a lot of the stuff that comes over the Estes
Please
method.
don't go.
I do it. I don't do it purposely. I just say it I just say it to myself. I try to be quiet.
Okay, new
but
rule.
I don't
Q,
think that's me.
when we're investigating, you are not allowed to whisper.
I won't whisper.
And that's generally a good idea. Like if you're doing an EVP, you don't want anybody whispering because then you could get false EVPs. If
Yeah.
you just talk in a full normal voice, so that when we go back and listen to it, we know that it's not somebody whispering. But I don't
think that one was me.
No, I'm gonna play it again. I don't think that's Q either.
You can speak through Bill. We're still listening.
Power.
Yeah, I don't think that's me.
Well,
Well,
we'll leave
new
that one
rule.
with.
New rule.
Yeah, no whispering.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna make it a point to tell everybody that no whispering ever during an investigation. Yeah, but aside from that,
We kind of also have to be more like the people who are like not under have to be more like, all right, that was a knock. That was, make it more aware of things that were happening when we're recording.
yeah, no, we're for the most part pretty good with that. Like when I'm listening
Yeah.
to it, like if somebody makes a noise or something, they're usually pretty good about saying it. But outside of all that, we made some new friends. Brian and Sylvia were awesome.
Yes.
And
Hopefully we get to do Penhurst.
yeah,
As
so
a big
so
group?
when we were talking about Penhurst, we all decided as a group, hey, let's rent out Penhurst for a night. But between all of us, we can afford to rent it out for a private party.
Mhm.
And so yeah, at some point this summer, we're gonna do Penhurst.
Definitely.
Possibly twice. We might go to one of their uh pre-scheduled events that are
Mhm.
only like 5 hours to bring your daughter. But then us with Brian's two friends who couldn't make it that night, and Sylvia and I think one of her friends, we're gonna do a full night investigation of Penhurst.
Which would be
It's gonna be
awesome.
dope.
Yeah.
Yep.
So once we have that scheduled, we'll let y'all know.
And that's awesome that every time we're going to these events, we're making like a friend.
Yeah.
Meeting
Yes,
cool
Grand
people.
Cultural Center. We got Kevin and Noah here. We got Brian and Sylvia.
Yeah. So we're making friends.
Branching out.
Yeah, we're so introverted and we still make friends.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the investigation. I thought it was a good investigation. This was our first time using Ghost Hunts USA, and I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Um,
We get to see them next week. Oh, this Friday.
yeah.
This coming Friday.
When we did this Cultural Center podcast, I made a comment that these paid for events are only as good as the people who go there. The group as a whole wasn't great. They were a little bit too far on the believer side where they believed everything. But once we got to do our free reign stuff and started working with Brian and Sylvia, they were awesome. We had a great time. So Brian, Sylvia, if you're listening, thank you. Like you helped make it a great night, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a blast.
Yep, it was awesome.
So any other closing remarks before we say goodnight?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with our Mid-Orange Correctional Facility investigation. So thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.